Hi, my musician friend. My name is Nakale, and the show is The Bandstand. The Bandstand is a program where I try to, from the little experience that I have in music, share with others what is expected as I travel around churches and I see how people dish out music and how people accept it and absorb it. So it has given rise to this program, and I feel that the little that I know, I should be able to contribute with friends all over. And I thank you so much for staying tuned and keeping a date with me on this program. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is everybody does it, but we really don't take it into cognizance, the reason why we do it. Why do we rehearse? That's the topic of today's talk. Why do we rehearse, and what is the difference between rehearsal and practice? And I have a few points here that I'm going to read out and break it down for you. The first thing that I said here is, if everyone shows up knowing the song, that is less stress on everyone, because we are not worried about everyone knowing their parts and having to teach them. What does that mean? That if you are a musician and you show up for rehearsal, and maybe the previous week before the rehearsal week, maybe the song was shared by a way of a transfer, which is very common right now. People just share songs and they let you practice on your own, and you come together and then you rehearse it. So when you are able to, as a musician, fish out what a tenor part is, what a soprano part is, what an alto part is, and if you have a third degree harmony or fourth degree or whatever degree harmony you have, if you really need to know it beforehand, then the music would have to be playing over and over and over on your phone or any device that you chose to download or receive the file of the music that was shared to you. So you have to take into cognizance the importance of having a pre-existing knowledge of the song that you are going to be singing on Sunday in church. Are you a soprano singer? Are you an alto singer? What part do you do? Are you a drummer? So you listen to all the fills, which is popularly known as roles. You listen to all the fills in the song, so you know what did they do on the song that endeared whoever chose the song, to bring in that song to the band for you to rehearse. So you listen to all the fills. You listen to places where they are extracting the hearts. You listen to places where it's just toms or flaws or kick, or you listen to it attentively. So if you have a drum machine, or you have a drum set, or you have access to any instrument that you play, you can just move on, rehearse. That saves a lot of time for your rehearsal when you get to the church or where the rehearsal studio that you use for your song. So if you know what part is expected of you in the harmony, you can learn yours. And if you have an edge over someone, you can easily take these people through with their parts. You can help them. Say you live close to someone who is struggling knowing what his part is. Before, if your rehearsal is a Wednesday, on Monday you can meet, or on Tuesday you can meet, or even Wednesday earlier you can meet and share with the person, I think I heard your part and this is how it sounds, and this is what my part sounds. And these days we have music has really evolved, when you have different types of harmony. People just be asking tenor singers to sing soprano, and soprano just go on alto and all of that. And you have to be able to differentiate that, and you have to be professional enough to know all of that. And that takes us to the second part. It is important to make it clear. That's the second part. It is important to make it clear to all the musicians on your teams that you have rehearsal, not practice. Practice is okay. Let me not go into that. Let me not jump into that. But if you know, like I explained in the first point, if you know that you are expected to drum in this song, listen to the drum lines. Listen to the kind of exercise. Listen to the pattern of the drumming. Then it helps you know from what exercise would you fish out this from. The exercise will help you into becoming a little more perfect with your playing with it. So when you come together as a team, that's when you rehearse. When you come together and you start practicing, it takes a whole lot of time from what you are doing when you start practicing instead of rehearsing, because people don't get this thing. They mix it all up together. When you come for a band rehearsal, you are supposed to come with the accumulated knowledge that everybody has rehearsed individually, and then you put them together, then you start rehearsing. But when you get there and you have 2 days or 3 days of practice, and you have 6 hours a week of practice time, because mostly people rehearse 3 times a week, twice within the week and once at the weekend, mostly Saturday, so that you can tidy up the song. So if you come the first day of your rehearsal and then the drummer starts hearing the song for the first time, in how is he going to put his act together? And then the piano player is hearing different chords that some of the chords are familiar to his ears. You have so many, just a note like can make a difference in your chord. If you just play maybe a chord of G, and then you touch your saw, your do, and your mi. If you just take out a finger on your do, which is your dominant note, and you put it on your T, it gives you something else. So some people play with this kind of chords like that sometimes. They just do it and you're like, wow, what did they play? And when you rehearse over and over, you just find pendant, and then they say bass guitar, you keep playing on the root note or the chord, playing on the root chord, and then it sounds so amazing, and you start wondering what has really happened. Wow, these people are so... No, it's just a note that has made a difference. So you have to listen to the song all over, but you cannot start listening to a song on a Wednesday and in a rehearsal, and you are expected to practice the song thoroughly throughout and perfect it by your next rehearsal, which might be Thursday or Friday. And then Saturday is a polishing day where you just come, rehearse the song, and get it ready for Sunday. So most of the time, it is very important that you take rehearsals home or to a rehearsal studio and you bring practice to the church, so that it saves you a whole lot of time. If someone is taking like 3 months to do a song, an original song, what practice the song and play it and have people appreciate it? I don't think that is ever possible. So maybe you just want to touch through, browse, just brush through the song, and then you dish it out to people half baked on Sunday. So I listen to that most of the time in churches. Sometimes you visit a church and you hear them sing a song you already know, and from the intro you're wondering, wow, what are they trying to do? And then the moment the lead vocalist opens his or her mouth to sing, you're like, wow, is it this song? So that means people have not really taken time to rehearse the song and practice it and dish it out. So I say, this is not another point. It's just, I'm just trying to argument on the point that I said. So what's the difference between practice and rehearsal? Practice is where musicians show up not knowing the song or the music, and then you start as a band, learn the song together. That's practice. That's practice. It's not a rehearsal. Is a scoring moment, like a time where you score. You sit down as a group. Okay, this one you have to play these. This is what. No, that's the second tom, not the first tom. Oh yeah, and then you start. I don't think that's a fourth chord. I think that's a third, or that's an added 9, and then you strike the chord, and the bassist starts to fish out what chord is he expected to play at that time, and then the guitarist starts thinking. Am I supposed to play a mute guitar here? What really did they play? Is it a clean guitar? You have to understand all of these things and know that they take place and they happen during practice. Rehearsal is where the musicians show up already knowing the song. You see the difference. So when everybody tries to play the song in beats and in pieces, wherever they are, and then that's practice. So when you come together having an idea of like 70-80% of the song, then you come together to rehearse and polish it up, and then you augment. So rehearsal is where the musicians show up already knowing the songs, and you run through them together. This is the difference between practice and rehearsal, and I hope it has been fruitful with you. I'll take a short break and I'll be right back. Hi, you're welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. The show is still The Bandstand, and I'm Tony J. Nakale on Equa Television. Now, we explained the difference between rehearsal and practice, and I'm sure that has really gone down well with you. And this takes us to the next part, or the next point of what I'm going to say, which is the third point. I've seen this happen too many times. Musicians get into a pothole of just showing up and playing whatever. Wow, that's not good. They are not getting better as musicians because they aren't practicing and really getting down the parts at home. You see, there is a place for building up yourself even at home while you practice on songs that you have no idea what is played in the song. They are stuck being ordinary musicians that they have always been. Requiring musicians to practice on their own puts the responsibility to learn on the music. And that's true. Because if I have a song that I'm hearing for the first time, and I'm expected that 80% of the drive in the song is from the piano, and I'm the piano player, I don't expect the drummer, who maybe basically just has the kick to play with and maybe just the snare in the song. Maybe the song is not extremely rhythmic, so maybe they just need the phrases and the chords, and that's just it to play the song. So if it's too much a responsibility on me, then I should be the one putting more time and effort into the song. Like, I should rehearse it over and over and over and over and play it and make sure that it's being played perfectly. And then not just that it's played perfectly, this discipline has to come in. If you score a song, I bet you the temptation to want to bring a whole lot into it would reduce, because you'll be minding your business trying to play the things that you have learned in the song, that you wouldn't have time to start doing a whole lot of ad-libs on what you have learned, except you just do a few embellishments on what you are playing. So I have said, I've mentioned a lot about rehearsing at home. It really helps. I know it's challenging. Not everyone has the studio, the instrument that they play at home to like really sit down and say, let me trash this song and all of that. If you have access to the church hall or the church auditorium, you can just walk in, turn down the volume, just a volume only you can hear. Hey, it's just practice. It's not a concert already. So you can just sit down, go through the song, listen to the song, understand the song, and then start playing the song. Get the things that you can play, and the things that you can play, when you get them, you play them perfectly. The ones that you cannot play, you can look for help from other people, and then they can help you with the chords or the drum line and all of that. And most of the time, I suggest, I know I have a place for that future in my that sometime in the future in my lecture or my show. I'm going to be talking about the types of the songs that should be chosen, and what type of congregation do you have, and people that can enjoy the songs that you chose to sing in church. This should take me to the next part. One of the big differences between an okay musician and a great one, especially in worship music, is the ability to play by ear. Wow, this is so amazing. I think I should explain this. You have to grow your listening of music. You have to grow it by trying to know every chord, the embellishment that is added on the chord. Like, I can just play a do chord. If it's a G chord, I can just strike it and add the second note on it, which is an A. If I add that, that means I'm playing 4 notes on one chord, and it gives me an added ninth, and it's so sweet. I wish I have the piano here. I just, so if I do a do in this part of the world, we like to play music by notes, not by staff notation and all of that. And most of the time, this show is going to be mostly talking about music, but using notes to describe what I'm saying. So if you're playing on G, you touch a do, a mi, and a so, and then it gives you the full chord of G, which is like G, B, and D. So when you touch A, add it to the G, the A, the G, the B, and the D. When you add it up, it gives you a G added 9. So the ninth chord is just an embellishment. The ninth chord is just an embellishment on it. So when you touch that, it sounds so sweet. And how do you know? Because when you keep playing something over and over and over, if you hear a song, whether it's local or it's foreign, the day that they touch the chord that you're used to playing, you just say, wow, this is an added ninth, or this is a seventh chord, or this is a fourth chord, or this is a suspended fourth, or this is an augmented chord, or this is a diminished chord. We would be talking about all of these things as we progress in this show. So you have to learn how to listen by ear. When you hear something, you should be able to say as a musician, wow, this is what is done. This is what is done. And as a drummer, most of your groove, your rhythm comes from exercises that people do every day. So when you hear something, this is a paradiddle, or this is a footwork, or this is a separation, left, right foot, right, left, or right, left foot, and all of that. So all of these things as you progress. So you have to have the ability of hearing something. Don't just hear things. Be inquisitive to know, what is this and how is it played? That is going to grow your listening by ear. So your listening by ear is a whole lot of things you have to talk about to add up and let people understand what you are saying. So learning the songs on your own creates the opportunity to develop an ear for music. When you play a song for the first time and then you heard a chord that you're not necessarily used to, you can be like, oh, wow, this is new. But when you get it, next time, if it's played in another song, you'd like, no, I've gone past through this. It took me like 3 hours to know what this chord is. And you can keep playing this chord on your own over and over and over and over. And there's something that I really need to say here. It's not part of what I'm talking about, but I think I should chip it in. People know scales a lot, but they don't know placement. In music, there's what I like teaching people about scales and placement. Just because you know a chord doesn't mean every single opportunity you have that there is a space you should strike it in. No. Every chord that you see, every scale that you know has a place for it. If it's a pentatonic or whatever it is, if you're running a scale, you should know when to run it. Is it a jazz music? Is it a normal, simple worship song in church that you don't have to do scale gymnastics every now and then, make it noisy and all of that? No. When you are when you're learning parts, the way they actually go on the album, as opposed to just showing up and playing whatever, you are developing an ear to hear parts. Like this has a lot to do with people who sing. Someone would just hear from the pitch, he could tell, wow, this is soprano. And he could tell, this is alto singing tenor. And he could tell that these people are singing this part, this is what it's singing. So it's by constant hearing of various groups, because music is dynamic. People are abusing the rules to get certain things. There are sometimes you find out that, wow, the law says play it this way. But when you are innovative in your playing, you find out that you're like, wow, I'm playing something that is not in the musical law and it's making sense, So if you listen a lot, you have a lot to learn and a lot to gain from. I'll just take a break and I'll be right back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. This is Tony J. Nakale and the show is The Bandstand. The Bandstand, like I said earlier, is a show that helps musicians that are struggling with the things that I'm picking up to talk about in their playing in churches and all of that. It's just a show that helps you to play simple things and maybe difficult things right. I was talking about difference between rehearsal and practice, and I mentioned it earlier. The last point on the show today is, if a musician showed up to rehearsal not knowing the music, I would kindly ask them to step down. That's what I would do personally. If you come, we have 2 drummers in church, for instance, and then you come over to play a song that has been given to you for 3 weeks and you can't even get the intro right. It tells me if you can't get the beginning right, I don't think there is anything you can get right at the middle of the song or at the end of the song. So I think that leaders, music leaders should imbibe the culture of letting people step down, not chasing them away from the group, but just let them step down so that another person can do what they are asked to do, what they were asked to do that they couldn't do, that they're failing and it's costing you time and all of that. So I would ask you to step down. And I've been a part of many churches, large and small, that do the same. I've seen people do, like, you can't just waste our time because Sunday is just around the corner. We need to do the song. And let me let you know something. People know when you spend time to work on a song, when you deliver it, people will be like, wow, this guy is really spent time trying to know the song and all of that. But if you just limit yourself to the knowledge that you have, thinking you can bypass every little chord or anything and just cut, your come in with short chords and play things, and it doesn't really add up to me as a musician. I like things to be played and be played right, So I take this whole point again without breaking it again. If a musician showed up to rehearsal not knowing the music, I would kindly ask him to step down. And I've been part of many churches, large and small, that do the same. It's an honor and responsibility to play in the worship band, and it has to be treated as such. I'm privileged. Anytime, like people who know me, if I have the opportunity to play in church or to sing in church or to do anything, I let you know that I'm privileged, that anyone could have done what I just did, but I'm just privileged to be the one doing it. I'm privileged to be the one blessing people at that point in time. So I don't have time to waste for people, so I shouldn't let people waste my time, and I shouldn't waste people's time, when you have things to do in church that are precious. When you start thinking that this church has not done so much for me, why should I put time into practice? Why should I put time into rehearsal? Why should I put time into doing this, doing that? It's not for the church. Hello? It's not for the church. It's for you. Because whatever knowledge you acquire, at the end of the day, if the church is telling you, hey, we don't need you anymore, if you go somewhere, the knowledge that you have will not remain in the past church. You take it along with you. So you do whatever it is that you have learned in that former church, in the new church that you find yourself, or in the new place that you find yourself. I mean, things don't always work out right between pastors, musicians, and all of that. And you find musicians trying to change churches and all of that. Most of the time, it is not all the time the problem from musicians, and it's not all the time problem from pastors. And these are all the things that I'm going to be dealing with subsequently in my topics and the lecture notes that I have for this. Remember that if you are playing music in church, that you are doing it as unto the Lord, not because there is a pastor that you need to please. That is not worship. There is a king, and he's the only king. He's in heaven. And he requires that whatever we give up to him should be perfect, should be clean, should be, like the Bible says, a sweet smelling savor to him. So how do you just come up with songs and just don't give them time, and then you dish it out unto God, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? He deserves your time in the practice. He deserves your time in the rehearsal. He deserves your time in the prayer corner in your house. He deserves your time all together for you to be a better musician. I would want to say something. You have a world to build. You have a world to influence for Christ. And as you stand on that stage, as you stand on that podium to lead people in His presence to worship, let it be done right. Thank you very much. This is the end of the show. I'll see you next time.